Shana Tova. In high school, this time of year made me anxious to have my name printed in 2 books, as it were. As it were, since one was a book, but a metaphorical one. And as it were, for the second was not exactly a book, but it was still very real. The first book was Sefer Chaim, the Book of Life, the book in which Jews worldwide seek to be written in and sealed for a good year. That's why we're here tonight and the days to come. And the second book was a trophy awarded for Ohio Best Sports Column in a high school newspaper. You see, I was very active on my school paper, and I had my own sports column called Column as We See 'Em. And after several of my columns had printed, my newspaper advisor encouraged me to enter this one journalism contest. I was to submit 3 of my previous columns and write a response to a specific prompt. And the big day arrived, and you know what? I wasn't nervous, not at all. I was actually really excited. I was excited to write the perfect sports column. And then the clock started, and I started to think, and think, and think, and not write a word for a full 30 minutes. It was utter agony. It was the most severe bout of writer's block I've ever experienced, from then to now. And every journalist knows, even high school journalists, they know that the most important sentence is the first one. It's the lead. That is the go, no-go line wherein the reader decides, do I want to keep reading, or am I done? That line must capture the reader's attention. And so, it's often the most difficult sentence to write. And as I sat there in that classroom, every time I thought of a line, I rejected it because it wasn't my very best. And so, after 30 minutes, my sheet of paper was still as blank as my mind. Extremely frustrated, I got up to get some water and just move around. And my advisor eyed me, knowing something was wrong. I told her, I don't know why I can't do this. I want to write the perfect piece, but it's just not happening. I'm stuck. And she answered, it's not happening because it can't. There's no perfect column. That can't be done. Okay, so what do I do here? And think about your last column. How do you think it was? I think it was good. Can you do better than that? Maybe just a little bit? Yeah, there is room to improve. Aim for that, she said. Don't aim for perfect. Aim for better. And so, with this new insight, I went back to my paper, I thought for a minute, and I put a sentence down. And as soon as I did that, the rest of the essay just flowed, like Rosh Hashanah, honey from a jar. My journalism teacher's advice was really geared for writers, but it's really on point for all of us who hike through the woods we call life. Don't aim for perfect. Aim for better. The high holiday season is the time for teshuvah. The word's usually translated as repentance, but the Hebrew word means so much more because it has the echoes of return, renewal, personal transformation. And we spend these days in temple considering our past, looking ahead at our futures. And we atone for past sins, and we commit to improving in the year ahead. We make resolutions, as the world around us does on January 1st, and here is where this advice is best placed. I myself make such a resolution now, every high holiday season. And when I was first motivated to do this years ago, this was my thought process. Identify X as where I fell short. Aim to be perfect at X. And after much focus and valiant effort, I really did try. I eventually fell short. Once, twice, 3 times, more. And then having fallen short and failed, in my eyes, I reverted to my old habits. I gave up. Try, fail, repeat. But if I were aimed to something more attainable, I believe I would find more success. Because as much as we talk about teshuvah, as easy as it is to say, to talk about, it's really, really, really hard to do. My new outline is identify X as where I fell short. Aim to be better at X. Try, succeed, repeat. Here are two practical examples, one chol, the other kodesh. The first secular, the second religious. The first one is perhaps the most common refrain around January 1st, going to the gym. I'm not going to ask by a show of hands how many have made their resolution. And how's it going? If someone who doesn't go to the gym wants to start going, they're really motivated. Where should they set the bar? It's tempting to set it really high, like going 4 times a week. But how long would that actually last? If one makes it once, twice, even 3 times a week, they may still feel like a failure because they're falling short of their goal. In that climate of failure, they may stop going altogether because aiming for perfect is boom or bust. However, if one aims for better, they just might do better. If they try to go twice a week, that's more attainable. And with the momentum of success, they're more likely to keep at it. The next year, they can add 1 more day. The following year, another. And then they're actually going 4 days a week. Aiming for better is slow and steady, and we know how that race is going to end. Everybody's different. There's no way to be sure. But if I had to bet on which approach works better for more people in the long term, I think it's on the gradual approach. And now let's look at a Jewish resolution one might make around now. I'll use the example of keeping more kosher. But this could work for so many things. Going to temple more, celebrating Shabbat more, giving more tzedakah, talking gossip less. You could add many examples. But let's say you want to get better at keeping kosher. Someone who is an omnivore, who attempts to make a full, sudden break and eat only hechshered products, certified kosher products, is taking on an awful lot. Too much too soon, I think. And with Judaism, it's never all or nothing. It's usually the more the better. Rabbi Morris Allen, conservative rabbi in Minneapolis, created a kashrut ladder called Shoe by Choice. And there are 9 rungs to his ladder for someone who wants to take the next step. The omnivore who wants to keep kosher should aim for better by not eating pork. That's the lowest rung. Next, not eating shellfish. Then not mixing meat and dairy foods. Next, waiting 3 hours between dairy and meat. Then using separate dishes for meat and dairy, followed by kosher meat or vegetarian food at home. Then not eating meat in non-kosher restaurants. Next, only hechshered products at home. And finally, only hechshered products outside the home. 9 rungs. And I love that this model presents keeping kosher as a ladder. It's a series of practical steps. One might be tempted, perhaps we are, at looking at keeping kosher as this massive, intimidating, all-or-nothing enterprise that's too much and so forget it. But that's not the case. It's a series of doable steps. And lo b'shamayim hi, it's not in the heavens. It's not impossible. Aiming for better is specific and achievable, something we can all do. This model of a ladder is also deeply ingrained in the Jewish tradition. In one of the most unforgettable scenes in all of literature, Jacob falls asleep, and he has a marvelous dream. It says, quote, "Indeed, there was a ladder set on the ground with its top reaching to the heavens. Indeed, angels were going up and down the ladder." Later, Jacob awakens and realizes, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the abode of God, and that is the gateway to heaven. End quote. See this ladder as a metaphor. Spiritual growth is a step-by-step process. The Eitz Chaim Chumash gets it exactly right when it says, quote, "We ascend to God one step at a time, making one small change in our lives and stabilizing before we take another. Sometimes we'll slip and miss a step, we'll fall back, but we recover and we keep climbing." Most people do not leap toward God in one great burst of enthusiasm, end quote. What was true for Jacob, the patriarch Israel, is true for us, his progeny, the people Israel. The latter is the link between earth and heaven, between human imperfections and divine aspirations, between ordinary people and their extraordinary dreams. It's the latter. It's about taking one step higher. It's about aiming to be just a little bit better. In high school, I sat in that cold chair after school one day, feeling frozen in crunch time. Frozen, I now know, because I was seeking something that didn't exist. Don't aim for perfect, my advisor coached. Aim for better. And liberated, I began to write. Today, we here in these temple chairs, after hours, may also feel that this is crunch time. And we're not wrong. These are the days when God judges us, our actions in our face, with proverbial pen in hand, we hope, in the book of life. But we too, we have a pen in our hand. We're the ones who decide, we write the script for our own lives, our own days ahead. So take a deep breath, aim for better, and let's begin to write. Shana Tova.
We're going to rise as the Ark is opened for Aleinu, page 58.